Remember stumbling across that trippy French animated film where giant blue aliens kept humans as pets?
It doesn't move. What a shame we can't play with her anymore.
Fantastic Planet wasn't just weird. It was a deeply disturbing political allegory born from Soviet oppression, Cold War paranoia, and artistic suffering. Behind those surreal visuals and nightmare creatures lurked exile, censorship, and animation techniques that nearly killed its creators. Let's count down 20 shocking facts about science fiction's most unsettling masterpiece. 20. It was made by a political refugee. Director René Laloux created Fantastic Planet while living as an effective refugee after fleeing France's oppressive animation industry. He'd been blacklisted and professionally destroyed for his unconventional artistic vision that mainstream French studios rejected as unmarketable. Laloux made the film in Czechoslovakia out of desperation, not choice, using whatever resources foreign studios would provide. The film exists because its creator had nowhere else to go, making art from exile and professional ruin. 19. The Drags represented Soviet oppression. The giant blue Drags keeping humans as pets was a deliberate allegory for Soviet domination of Eastern European nations. The film was created in communist Czechoslovakia just years after the 1968 Soviet invasion crushed the Prague Spring. Laloux and his team embedded anti-Soviet messaging into surreal imagery, criticizing their oppressors through metaphor they hoped censors wouldn't understand. Every scene of drag cruelty reflected the lived reality of occupation and dehumanization under Soviet control. '18. Roland Topor drew. While institutionalized artist, Roland Topor, who created Fantastic Planet's nightmarish designs, had spent time in psychiatric institutions where he developed his disturbing aesthetic. His creature designs came directly from mental illness experiences, hallucinations, paranoid delusions, and psychological suffering transformed into visual art.
That's fun. Let me try it.
The unsettling imagery audiences found fascinating was literal documentation of one man's psychological trauma. Topor's madness became the film's visual identity, proving sometimes great art requires genuine mental deterioration. 17. The animation technique caused physical injuries. The film used cutout animation, photographing hand-cut paper pieces frame by frame that destroyed animators' hands and eyes. Artists developed repetitive strain injuries, vision problems, and chronic pain from the painstaking process, requiring microscopic precision thousands of times daily. Multiple crew members suffered permanent physical damage creating the film. The beautiful, fluid animation was extracted through bodily sacrifice, with artists literally destroying themselves for art that audiences consumed without knowing the human cost. 16. It was funded with laundered money. Production financing came partially from Czechoslovakian sources later revealed to have connections to money laundering operations moving currency through cultural projects. The communist government used film production as cover for financial schemes, and Fantastic Planet unwittingly participated in international financial crimes. The art everyone praises was partially financed through literal criminal activity, making the film's existence dependent on Eastern European corruption and illegal financial networks. 15. The French version was censored differently than Czech. Two versions were created simultaneously, French and Czech, with different censorship applied to each. The Czech version removed anti-Soviet imagery that French censors allowed, while the French version cut sexual content that Czech censors permitted. Neither version shows the complete artistic vision, meaning no audience has ever seen the film Laloux actually intended. Every version is compromised by somebody's political or moral objections, fragmenting the original work across incompatible censored editions. 14. The voice actors were blacklisted dissidents. Several voice actors in the Czech version were political dissidents blacklisted by the government and working under pseudonyms. The communist regime allowed them employment on this project because it generated foreign currency through international distribution. These actors worked anonymously, denied credit to protect them from further persecution. The voices audiences heard belonged to people whose real names and faces were state secrets, criminals in their own country for demanding freedom. 13. The soundtrack was created under surveillance. Composer Alain Goraguer recorded the experimental jazz electronic soundtrack while Czech secret police monitored sessions for subversive content. Every recording was reviewed by government censors, listening for hidden anti-communist messages in instrumental music. Goraguer composed under constant surveillance, knowing his artistic choices were being analyzed for political loyalty. The haunting score was created by someone working under threat of imprisonment if authorities detected wrong ideological frequencies. 12. The human characters were deliberately ugly. The Oms, humans, were designed intentionally unattractive and primitive-looking to subvert audience identification and force an uncomfortable perspective. Laloux wanted viewers to struggle with whether humans deserved sympathy, making them genuinely off-putting rather than cute victims. This was calculated alienation, preventing easy emotional connection. It's cruel storytelling that refuses to comfort audiences with clear heroes, instead forcing them to sympathize with genuinely unpleasant creatures because the alternative, drag supremacy, is worse. 11. Multiple animators defected. During production, at least 2 animators working on Fantastic Planet defected to Western countries mid-production, fleeing Czechoslovakia during brief travel opportunities. Their departures caused production delays and forced remaining artists to compensate for lost labor. The defections were kept secret to avoid jeopardizing the production, but they represented artists so desperate to escape communist oppression they abandoned their work permanently. The film continued using labor from people actively planning escape. 10. The meditation scenes were actual political meetings. The drag meditation sequences where they absorb knowledge collectively were coded depictions of Communist Party meetings where ideology was enforced through collective consciousness erasure.
The Abrahamic civilization was created by the great Zarak in the 3rd millennium before the era of Krog.
The crystalline structures represented party doctrine, and individual drogs losing autonomy mirrored forced ideological conformity under totalitarianism. Laloux was literally animating his oppression, showing audiences exactly how communist systems destroyed individual thought through mandatory collective consciousness. The psychedelic visuals were documentary footage disguised as science fiction. 9. The sexual content was exploitation disguise. The film includes disturbing sexual imagery, naked humans, suggestive alien anatomy, reproductive horror, partially because Laloux knew Western distributors would market sex and violence even if they censored politics. He weaponized exploitation, embedding subversive content in sexualized imagery that Western capitalism would distribute for profit. It's cynical calculation that pornographic elements would protect political messaging by making film commercially viable through base appeals to sex and shock. 8. The English dub changed the entire message. The 1973 English dub significantly altered dialogue to remove explicit political messaging and make the film more commercially palatable to American audiences. Anti-authoritarian statements became generic sci-fi dialogue, and specific critiques of power structures got sanitized into vague philosophical musings. English-speaking audiences received fundamentally different film than French or Czech viewers, one stripped of its revolutionary intent and reduced to psychedelic spectacle. The translation was ideological censorship disguised as localization. 7. The park extermination scene was Prague, Spring. The sequence where drogs exterminate wild Oms with poison gas in their park directly referenced Soviet military crushing Czech resistance during Prague Spring. The casual cruelty, bureaucratic efficiency, and cold indifference mirrored Warsaw Pact tanks destroying peaceful protest. Lalou was animating recent genocide his collaborators had survived, putting documented atrocity on screen disguised as alien fiction. That scene isn't imagination, it's trauma processed through surrealist metaphor by people who watched friends die. 6. The film was banned in Soviet Union. Despite being created in Soviet-controlled Czechoslovakia, Fantastic Planet was immediately banned throughout the USSR and prevented from screening in most Eastern Bloc countries. The authorities Lalou hid his message from him anyway and prohibited distribution. The ban confirmed the film's success as subversive art. It was dangerous enough to suppress. Soviet censors understood exactly what Lalou was saying and refused to let their citizens hear it, validating every risk taken during production. 5. René Lalou never made another important film. Fantastic Planet destroyed Lalou's career rather than launching it. The political controversy made him unemployable in France, and international success brought scrutiny rather than opportunity. His subsequent films received minimal distribution and funding, each less ambitious than the last. Lalou spent decades creatively neutered, unable to match his masterpiece because the industry punished him for making it. His greatest achievement became his career's death sentence, proving the system destroys artists who threaten it. 4. The ending was forced. Optimism. The film's peaceful resolution, where drags and alms coexist, was mandated by censors who refused to allow humanity's extinction or violent revolution as endings. Lalou wanted an ambiguous or darker conclusion, but both French and Czech authorities demanded a hopeful finale, suggesting reconciliation was possible. The ending audiences remember was a compromise forced by censors, terrified of depicting successful revolution or acknowledging that oppression might be permanent. The hopeful conclusion is a lie censorship demanded. 3. The child death scene traumatized the animators. The opening sequence where the alms mother is killed while her child watches traumatized multiple animators who'd lost parents to war or political violence. Several crew members requested reassignment from that sequence, unable psychologically to animate childhood trauma mirroring their own experiences. Directors forced them to complete it anyway, prioritizing production over mental health. The disturbing opening exists because traumatized people were forced to recreate their worst memories for entertainment, regardless of psychological damage. 2. The creatures were designed to trigger phobias. Roland Topor deliberately researched common phobias, arachnophobia, body horror, claustrophobia, and designed creatures to trigger maximum psychological discomfort. The goal wasn't just strange, it was weaponized revulsion, calculated to produce anxiety and fear. Every unsettling design choice was intentional psychological manipulation, using viewers' primal fears against them. The film is visual assault designed by someone who understood human vulnerability and exploited it mercilessly for artistic impact. It's calculated trauma delivery disguised as entertainment. 1. It predicted modern surveillance state. Fantastic Planet's depiction of omniscient monitoring, information control, and population management through technology predicted modern surveillance capitalism and authoritarian digital control with horrifying accuracy. The drug's casual observation and control of OM's mirrors, contemporary governments' digital surveillance and data harvesting. Lalou wasn't making science fiction. He was extrapolating present reality into logical conclusion. The film is a warning we ignored, a blueprint for the dystopia we built anyway, proving his nightmare vision was a prophecy we fulfilled willingly. From political persecution and physical suffering to censorship and calculated psychological trauma, Fantastic Planet proves the most beautiful art comes from the darkest oppression. If these revelations disturbed you as much as the film itself, smash that subscribe button for more uncomfortable truths hidden in cult classics. Keep your consciousness expanded and your surveillance cameras watching. OMs and drags forever enslaved.